Okay, now this is official. The first one was not as official. This one will be more official. So, yeah, this is the second sesh with my brother Louis Gerber. And last time I think we had a pretty good conversation. And that's part of the reason I want to keep on doing this. Partly because you and I both want to sit down and talk maybe like once a week or so, just to like, grow and bounce stuff off of each other. But also, I think that sometimes we discuss stuff that's got a lot of value for people. And, we've gone through a lot of stuff in our lives that I don't think many other people have gone through. Like, I mean, obviously, we're not unique in tragedy, but we have gone through many situations that are abnormal and extreme. And
Maybe
yes,
a normal human being, that lives his life on this planet
yeah,
has one of these major events happen in
yeah,
their lives, during their lives, maybe one or two. But I don't know. I've even lost count of how many interesting things have happened to us,
not sure.
caused by ourselves, caused by circumstances, caused by anything. And just to like follow up or back you up on that, like why I like this, and I'm also totally down for doing like a weekly talk because we've said it so many times, like when we are on the phone, saying things, and then it's like some deep stuff. And then we're like, dude, this should be a podcast. This should be something,
100%.
Never really gotten down and just put our foot down and done it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think this happened sort of naturally because really the first one was like a meeting where I was seeking your counsel
Yeah.
to set up my like training programs more online and migrate from person to person type stuff, direct
Yeah.
one-on-one type things to, you know, to making it available to anybody that's willing to listen to it and willing
Yeah.
to partake. So it was like more of like a consulting session from you to me at that stage.
Yeah. But we always divert.
Deep stuff
That's
comes out,
that's
dude.
that's something that we do is like we never have a single path. It's
We
just
spoke about so many things, it was
yeah.
insane.
Yeah, that's why I was like, you know what? Like I'm just gonna it's gonna be shitty quality. It's not gonna be the best, but let me just load it up and let's just get this ball rolling. I had this idea for this podcast maybe like a year ago, and I only did like 5 episodes myself. And it was just me solo talking and flowing as much as I can. But when it's with you, it's like we add value. And so I like
Yeah,
that.
we feed off each other and we really kind of understand each other and we study the same things. So
Yeah. Yeah,
pretty
and from
awesome.
different perspectives too. So it's like I like that. And so uh I think we can do this maybe weekly. I don't want to put a level we got to do it, and I don't want to do that, but I do think that man we could possibly get an hour a week to
An
just sit.
hour a week isn't hard to do,
No, no. And
even in these circumstances that I'm living right now.
yeah,
It's possible,
which is great. Which is great that you said that because that's precisely what I wanted to talk about. I think today I want to focus on something that's fresh and something that we've spoken about, but you're kind of living at this moment. And I think that gives even a more unique perspective because it's crazy what happened to you was like a week ago, right? Even a few days ago.
Last Friday, yeah.
Yeah, like last Friday, it's almost a week ago, 6 days ago. Um, and I think we were speaking about this kind of theoretically, and then suddenly the universe was like, all right, it's time. And now here you are. And you're sitting on a different computer in a different house, and it all changed in a matter of minutes. So why don't you run us through that day? I called you up in the morning because I was like, yo, bro, I just need you to like swing me some cash because I needed to pay some stuff immediately. And you were like, sure. And so you were walking to the OXXO. We were on the phone. And then the last thing that you told me before, like, everything's the dominoes fell into place, was like, there's a lot of people outside of my house. And then I was like, in my mind, I was like, all right, that's fine. There's a lot of people. Maybe there's a squirrel that died or something like that. But You can tell us what happened after we hung up.
Yeah. Well, it was crazy, dude, because we were, I think we had our talk and we were talking about, how it's all about self-discovery, knowing yourself, and especially when things are uncertain, you don't know what's going to come or what's going to happen next. You always have to keep yourself and know exactly who you are, vibe correctly according to your authentic self, and then set intentions and do actions to create the reality that you want to do. So just before your call, I was like setting up for a Zoom meeting with some new partners of a new business that we're starting that promises to be something like amazing. It seems it's going to be a very interesting business and a very probably a very profitable business once it's up and running. So I was all excited about that, and I was telling you like, yeah, dude, I'll quickly go and deposit your cash at a convenience store, and then like, you know, went there without that day. By the way, that day my kids were all at home. This was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and and it was a Friday because we live in Mexico, and in Mexico when you're in primary school, every last Friday of the month is something like a technical council. So the whole
Yeah,
teachers group gets together. So the kids don't go to school, right?
yeah,
So they're all chilling there, playing video games. We like waking up late. My daughters are in high school, so they were like getting ready to go and sign their grades. That's all they had to do. They're basically finishing like their first semester of high school. So they were gonna go sign their grades. So I had all this like peaceful things going on in the
yeah,
house. And it was all cool. And so I went quickly without telling them because it was going to be literally like a 5-minute walk from my house to the convenience store and then like back. So I was like, no need to call them. I was on the phone with you the whole time.
yeah,
Come back. And, we're back at where I was telling you there's a lot of people outside of my house. And I really thought it was like some squirrel or stuff because we live kind of in the suburbs.
yeah,
Like there's not so much development around there. So there are squirrels or mice or whatever, lost cat. And like we have a neighborhood administrator, like we have a homeowners association. And they were there outside my house.
yeah,
So my daughters, who are 15, I have twins, they were like, I was like, "What's up, kids? What's going
yeah.
on?"
Jolly, just very jolly.
Yeah, and then they were like, "The house is on fire," and I was like, "Oh shit!" So I opened up the door, and the entire house was filled with this black soot-filled smoke,
Jesus.
like so dark I couldn't see anything. It was like it was insane. It was like I've never experienced that level of darkness. Like I've been in black night with no
Yeah,
moons or whatever, or like even a locked room that's completely locked. This looked like the absence of light.
yeah,
And so I walked in there, opened the door, and I heard like we have two cats, so I heard one of the cats like mowing. This cat hardly ever mows. She was
yeah,
I realized I couldn't go upstairs. Like it's like a two-story house. So I realized I couldn't go upstairs. I realized I needed to go through the house to be able to open up this side gate that lets people get into the backyard.
yeah. But what caused the fire? Like, I
Well,
mean,
what caused the fire was the Christmas tree. My wife the night before had changed the lights because some of the lights of the previous year weren't working. So there was like some like empty spaces of lighting on the Christmas tree. So she went and bought like a new set of lights and everything, LED lights,
yeah,
and uh, and connected it the night before. I had turned on the Christmas tree because like I wanted my background in the Zoom meeting to be my living room with a
yeah,
Christmas tree and all this stuff, festive.
yeah,
So I turned it on. We never have it on during the day. We don't have it on when we're sleeping. I just turned it on for the meeting, just for visual effect.
yeah,
Like I wanted to have it there because my house looked very nice. It looked very Christmassy. So I wanted
yeah.
to have the new partners, get a familiar,
See, yeah, he's a
homey feeling.
family dude. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a jolly good fellow.
yeah,
And so So I turned it on and I left it on when I went, dude.
Yeah.
And our Christmas tree is like an artificial Christmas tree,
Yeah.
and it's not a big one. It's not like one of those huge ones. It's
Yeah.
kind of like a medium sized one. So years ago, my wife, she loves collecting like Christmas decorations and makes a beautiful tree, dude. Like it's
Yeah.
a very
Yeah.
beautiful tree. Looks like it's done by pros, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen like the Christmas decorations in the last Biden Christmas, you know, Biden White House. It looked
Mhm.
terrible, dude. It was like tacky, you know. But when my wife collects like beautiful things like little squirrels and bunnies and whatever,
Yeah.
and it looks like an amazing tree. So we like to share. We're proud of our Christmas tree, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So she bought these boxes so that the Christmas tree can stand on these wooden boxes and be more elevated and have more
Yeah.
presence in the house.
Yeah.
Long story short, the Christmas tree obviously caught fire. There was a short circuit somehow, and it caught fire. And then that fell on top of the couch where,
Jesus.
like, this was in the living room. So the whole Christmas tree fell on the couch. My kids take robotics classes. So they were upstairs, like in the upstairs living room, like the game room.
Yeah.
You know, we just bought like a 72-inch TV screen. You know, they had Xbox going on. The girls had their laptops and they were all playing online multiplayer games together, you know,
Yeah.
all the kids. But then suddenly they smelt like electric fire. And since their robotics days, like they short circuited some things out so they can identify these things, you
Yeah.
know. So they immediately knew something was not right and it was a
Yeah.
strong smell. So my 10-year-old went downstairs, my boy, he went downstairs, saw the freaking Christmas tree on fire, massive fire
The couch.
on
Yeah.
top of the couch. And you know, he went upstairs, kept his cool, thank God. Like I'm incredibly proud of how they handled it, you know.
Yeah.
He told his sisters, like, go get your cell phones because sometimes, you know, we're out working. My wife's in sales.
Yeah.
I also have many meetings sometimes with partners or people or whatever out of the home office. So they thought maybe I was gone. You know, they didn't. I didn't let him know.
Yeah.
So he immediately told him, like, get your cell phones. Like he doesn't have a cell phone, but they do because they're
Yeah.
15. You know,
Yeah.
he's 10. We kind of don't want him
Yeah. No.
get into that world yet. And uh, and so like he said, go get your phones, call mom and dad, tell them what's going on. And then he ran across to like right in front of our house. We have this little park, and then there's like this administrative building. So he
Yeah.
ran across, and he told him, you know, house is on fire, and that's why all those people are outside my house. So going back to this, I'm opening the door from the garage. You know, like we have a main entrance and then like the garage entrance. So from the garage entrance, I like it goes straight into the kitchen, then the dining room, and then you can go straight through to the backyard, like
Yeah.
so, and the backyard has these like glass doors, sliding glass doors. It's a huge, huge thing with like a big curtain, which also caught fire.
Yeah.
Like let's say it's like maybe like 6 meters, the whole, maybe six, maybe even 10 meters long, the entire curtain. You know,
Yeah.
so the whole thing was a flame when I came in there. I couldn't see those flames. That's how much smoke there was in. It was literally like those, like when you burn tires, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of
Then
smoke.
like chemical smoke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the couch has like foam in it and
Yeah.
the material and whatever. So it was all burning, dude.
Toxic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super.
And it was hot. I could feel the heat. So the first attempt was trying to crawl through because of the smoke level.
Yeah.
And then the second attempt, I was like, dude, it's taking too slow. Roof's already falling
Yeah.
and like, things are exploding. So I don't want to be crawling, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just gonna go out again because I mean, as we spoke in our previous, dad was like a special forces dude. So he taught us many things, you know, and one of the things is never breathe when a house is burning,
Yeah.
not just because of the smoke, but because of the heat.
Yeah.
The extreme heat could like, you know,
Yeah.
melt your lungs
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went outside, just took a super deep breath, you know, fresh air, and just went back in. Then one of the guys that was behind me, he used to work in this like mining company.
Yeah.
So they get a lot of safety training and stuff. And he grabbed me on the back of the belt and try to follow me through, because if anybody gets hurt or falls down or
Yeah.
stuff,
Got to
always
pull you back out. Yeah.
you need the buddy system,
Yeah.
in those kind of situations. So we just like, I just stopped feeling him, ran into the dining room table, couldn't see anything, burnt my arm because like, I had a sweater hanging over one of the chairs,
Yeah.
dining room table. And like, as I bumped the dining room table, I kind of like, it's just a little bruise right now, but
Yeah. But it was a burn.
but like
Like,
set my whole sweater, my own sweater that I had on, very cold that morning,
yeah.
set it on there, sort of felt it, but you don't register.
Adrenaline. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like for some reason the doors didn't want to open up. So, the adrenaline even made me, I was like, there's no going back now,
Yeah.
only go forward. And I felt the heat like on my face. My hair was scorched a little bit afterwards. I mean, afterwards when we saw the damage, and if you want to load up some photos,
Yeah, I
so
will. I
see some
will
stuff.
actually. That's what I'll do as you like talk about this. I will
Yeah,
like just overlay some
yeah,
pictures. Yeah.
some photos, but the doors were scorched. The couches are not existent anymore. The
Yeah.
motor is just this like plastic thing.
Let's puddle.
My daughters had like her tennis shoes in the living room. They're just like these rubber soles that's like sort of bubbled and whatever, so it's extremely hot.
Yeah.
And I ripped the glass sliding doors. I ripped them like out of their frame, and it fell sort of, I don't know, on my shoulder. I don't even know. I just have pain. I still have like blue marks on my legs and things. But like, and part of that glass broke and fell on my back and like scratched me on
It
like,
gashed you. The image that you sent was
yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's all healed up now, but yeah, it was like
Yeah.
it just fell out of the door and fell
Like
into
you
my
got
like
stabbed
back.
by a piece of glass or something. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
like hot glass,
Yeah.
So got out, then went straight around the house, through the corridor, opened the side gate. There were gardeners and things standing there with buckets. Neighbors were showing up. That's a cool thing about Mexicans and neighbors. I mean, all people are very human, but Mexicans are just like, when shit goes down, and it's a
Yeah.
tragedy, they're just there, dude. It's
Yeah.
it's an amazing thing, like mi casa su casa
Yeah.
philosophy is a real thing.
Yeah.
And so they immediately came through with me. I filled up my trash can with water, and we just moved so fast that probably in like 10 minutes or so we turned the fire off.
Yeah.
We got all the couches and things into my backyard, out of the house. Like the gardeners had pickaxes and things that they garden tools, so they just like smashed some more of the windows and just ripped it out. But by that time, damage was done. Like
Yeah.
entire house from bottom to top. The bottom floor obviously is highly damaged.
Yeah.
There is structural damage. It looks like my house had never had paint on it. Like
Yeah.
the walls and everything are like toasted. It was so hot that like all the stucco and all the like the paint and everything looks like gray blocks,
Yeah.
gray cement building blocks, which is what they build houses in Mexico
Yeah.
from. So, so yeah, dude. Right now, I'm basically homeless.
Yeah.
Right now, like many blessings have happened, and it was so strange. Like, obviously, I was about to have that meeting. I wrote the guys as a guys. My house just burnt down, basically,
Yeah.
and we're gonna have to postpone our meeting. And obviously, a lot of support from those guys and everything. But the neighbors, we had this alarm. We have this like community like system that opens our
Yeah.
gates. It's like a neighborhood type app where you can give people invites to come into the neighborhood, and it's like a
Yeah.
gated community.
Yeah.
So like people showed up, dude, with fire extinguishers, and then like somebody like friends that we'd made in the neighborhood were like, dude, I'll take your kids. I see they're like really traumatized, so let me take them to my house and give them some food and some tea and coffee and whatever, and let them just get away from
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
while we deal with this. Firemen showed up like 40 minutes after we called. It was ridiculous,
Yeah.
like
The response.
My house would have been totally
Consumed. Yeah.
like,
No, well, the thing about those houses is they're connected to the other houses. So like
yeah,
one
it's all like
house goes
spirit
down.
houses. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
one if one of
like,
those burned down, there's like a whole section will
and
burn
we
down.
use natural gas,
Yeah.
so the gas lines could somehow. I mean, they have protection, safety measures, and whatever, but
Either way, dude, it's a
fire is
an
fire.
inferno. Yeah, dude, and
Yeah,
you
you
can't
know.
escape.
I mean, if you look at those pictures, you'll see how
Yeah.
the everything is just like scorched.
Hmm.
And so you know, beautiful things. I was talking to one of my daughters yesterday because we're all digesting the situation.
Of course.
Yesterday we were having a breakfast. Me and my one daughter woke up earlier, and we just sat there and I was saying like, have you noticed in the yin yang like symbol that the white part has a black dot in it, and the black part has a white dot in it?
Yeah.
And she's 15, so I was telling her like that means that all light, all good moments, all things that's blessings, also has a tad bit of bad things, a bit
Yeah.
of darkness,
Yeah.
and also darkness has a tad bit of light,
Yeah.
and like that very day, dude, like I was literally in the house for like 30 seconds, man. Came out, I did a natural blackface, you
Mhm.
know, and I was like, I look like a freaking chimney sweeper, man. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's crazy. And then, the neighbors immediately showed up and they're like, what do you need, dude? Like, people, it was cold, so I had no jacket on. Neighbors came and gave me a jacket. The firemen, when they did come, they had oxygen masks, all the equipment necessary, and they could go upstairs. I was worried that both of our cats were dead by that time. It would have
Yeah.
like a traumatizing thing on top of the trauma for my kids. They really
Yeah.
love those pets. It's like family.
Yeah.
So I was like, guys, there's two cats up there. That's the only thing I care about right now. Like I
Yeah.
know all the fire, all's good, but the house is full of smoke. All the windows upstairs are closed. Go get the cats.
Yeah.
So they had, after like three attempts, they found one of the cats, and then I was like, there's still one, dude. Go get it. And then they found the other one, which is like black. It's a black cat, so it was hard to see it in the blackness.
Yeah.
So they found her too, and gave him some oxygen, gave him some water, all this stuff. People was like, how are you? I was like, dude, I don't know how I am. I said, I think I'm okay. I didn't breathe any of this stuff. I didn't breathe much of it. Like, I obviously did some of it when I ripped
Yeah.
that door open, but most of the time I held my breath. And that very night, that moment that it was happening, there were other people renting a house in the neighborhood. Their contract in a company they were working with just finished, and they were going to their home in another state. And they were already driving. They were like 10, 15 minutes away from the house by that time, but they were looking at the messages of the neighborhood. We have a WhatsApp group. And then they both looked at each other like, you want to go back and give them the keys of our house? We're not there. It's just an elderly couple.
Yeah.
And they don't know our names. They don't know anything about us. And they just showed up and gave us their keys to the house and said we can sleep there the weekend while we
Wow.
figure out where we're going. Right.
That's crazy.
And and then like we got there, and then some of the neighbors, like, they started depositing some cash into our bank account.
Wow. Yeah.
We have this big Halloween event in our neighborhood, and it's like our neighborhood became kind of famous in town because we do like a massive thing, and it's
Yeah.
just a big event. But they make money from it. The neighborhood makes money from it, and they had like some cash, and they gave us all that cash. you
Wow.
know
Yeah. That's awesome.
so in the darkness, there were these beautiful things that were happening,
Yeah.
and we were totally appreciative. It was Thanksgiving, like,
Yeah.
thank
It was what do you call it? Black Friday, right?
it was Black Friday.
I guess in your house it was literally Black Friday. Yeah.
It was, man.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
like,
could you give me 1 second? I'm just gonna quickly pause this video.
sure, sure. Keep the vibe.
All right. Yeah. Sorry about that.
So no
Yeah.
worries, man. So
So
basically, like, that same night, a friend of mine, that's his kids live in Germany. he visits them like over Christmas holidays and stuff. So he's out like the entire month. He's like, Louis, are you okay? I saw on the news, because he's obviously hooked up to the local news. I saw on the news that your house burned down. And he used to be my neighbor. He used to live like right next to my house.
Yeah.
We became very good friends, you know, and my kid and his kids the same age, like our boys. And they just became like best friends, you know.
Yeah.
And we built a good relationship and whatever. And he's like, dude, sorry, hope everything's fine, blah, blah, blah. And then like the next day, he called me, he sent me a message like, dude, my house is available. I'm not going to be there the entire December. So take your family there, live there, treat it as if it's your house. And that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
I'm
crazy.
still in my homie's house. So it's just been amazing, like the like the good shit happening in the bad things.
Yeah.
Like my conclusion at the moment is, you know, forest fires, you know, Pachamama, she loves to renew herself.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like this horrible thing, you know, there's this big fire that happened and it's bad, it's painful, and it breaks a lot of stuff and it kills a lot of things. And anything that's weak, anything that would not be able to escape the fire dies
Yeah.
in a bad death, you know. And but then that ash is a fertilizer.
Yeah.
The ash makes it grow bigger, better, and more beautiful than before in a very quick time. And you eventually don't even know the place burnt, you
Yeah.
know? So, like, I feel like it's something like that, especially because as we spoke the last time, I'm going through a lot of like structural changes in my business life and in life in general, you know,
Yeah.
like the flow of destiny. And I don't want to sound mediocre because, you know, I don't know who was the philosopher that said that. He said mediocre people's favorite word is destiny. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, well, you know, God wills it, so
The fate.
that's why,
Yeah.
you know. So, and it's not that I don't believe in that. I really do believe that prior to life, as eternal beings, we all have these like check lists of things that we want to deal with in our spiritual growth, you know.
Yeah.
So certain major events kind of has to happen, and I think they're predestined and pre-planned. They have to happen,
See.
and it's like you've agreed, and then you also have agreed with who's going to help you out and how people's going to respond, and it's like a test on everybody's uh, perspective or everybody's scale. You know, like my homie that lent us his house, he
Yeah.
could have easily be like, dude, I wish you well. You know,
Yeah.
God bless you. But perhaps he priorly agreed that I'm going to be a man that's detached from materialism.
Yeah.
So this dude his house and, you know, let him live there. Whatever happens, happens, you know, like,
Yeah. I also think though, there's a lot of like sowing and reaping, right? And in his life, he also previously went through stuff, and
yeah,
so
you know him and you've done some
yeah,
sessions
I've
with him.
worked with him as well, so I know a little bit about his past, and I'm pretty sure that you were a strong support system for him when he went through that. And so,
But the first person that he spoke to after
yeah,
this, like his bad situation that I won't say
no, yeah,
anything.
yeah, of course not. We'll keep that.
He had a real terrible like
Yeah,
situation,
so,
very bad surprise, and I was the first person he came to, and like you know, I was a brother when he needed a brother.
exactly, and that's what I'm coming at. It's like you were there without wanting anything in return, just, you know, unadulterated kindness that you
Right.
gave to him and support. And that's the type of seeds that you put out. So now, in the time when the tables have turned, it's like, oh, of course I'm here, and of course I'm here to help you out. Of course I'm here to, um, get you the
Well,
support that you
kind of
need
crazy
right now.
because the dude that took my kids and bought him a pizza and stuff like that, and played like card games with them and just hung out, made him cappuccinos, you know, just like took him
Yeah.
out of the situation. One 24th or 25th of December, like it was Christmas Day, I think. He called me up. He's like, dude, I'm sorry for asking this on Christmas Day, but like, could you lend me your truck? And because I have this thing that I want to give my mom, like a big furniture, like piece of furniture.
Yeah.
And she's alone, and I just want to take it to her and surprise her and stuff. And
Yeah.
I know you're busy. I always cook the Christmas meals and stuff. So like I said, yeah, sure, dude, no problem. Let's go. So I just got in the car, immediately went to his house and like, took an hour.
Yeah.
And he was super appreciative of it. And he's like, dude, awesome. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, people don't do that. It's Christmas. I was expecting you to tell me, no, dude, I'm busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't. You went and you like helped me out,
Yeah. Without expecting anything in return.
Yeah. And carried the furniture into his mom's house and
Yeah. Help
hung out.
set it up. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
when I told him, I was like, dude, I'm really thankful for what you did for my kids and everything. He's like,
Yeah.
dude, it's like totally you would have done the same thing for me. Like I have no
100%.
doubt in the amount,
Yeah.
mind.
It's kind of like the Chris, I mean, the it was Christmas, the law of the woods, right? When you go out hiking and stuff like that, be kind to everyone.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick
Yeah.
because you don't know if you're going to fall into a ledge and you need somebody
Yeah.
to help you out. And so I think that's a very good thing to just apply to life. It's like being kind and being helpful. It doesn't cost you anything. It's really not. The what was it the other day? The other day I did something, a kindness, an act of kind. Oh, okay. So not to blow my own, horn here, but like I went to the pharmacy to go pick up diapers or something like that, maybe some medicine for Andre, and it was night. It was already like 9:30 or so, and so I was like, all right, going out, and outside I see this old dude and these two little girls. One girl's in a wheelchair, and the other one's like a little bit younger. But they're young. They're probably both under 10 years old. The other one's probably closer to 5. The other one's probably closer to 7. And this old dude that's obviously their grandfather, sitting there with a can asking for money. And it's nighttime and it's cold and it's rainy. But I had nothing. I had no cash on me. I only had I only
Hard.
had my card. So I went into the store, and as I'm walking out, I just felt like, you know, get him some chocolate or something. And I don't have cash to give for him for his cause, but I can give them something that they don't expect.
Right.
And so I bought like two little M&M packets. I went out and I just went to the dude. And I was like, "Hey man, I don't have any cash, but here, take this for the two girls." And then and he was like, "Oh, cool." And he like looked down and he was kind of shocked. And then he was like, and he turns to the girls and he's like, Mira, and it gives both of the girls like each their M&M packets, and like the look on the little girl in the wheelchair's face was like, like she just lit up, and I felt good. It was like yummy, right? It wasn't like I didn't do it for that effect, but the effect was like wow, and I understood that why giving
Yeah.
is greater of a return on investment when you do it like without expecting. I didn't do it because I wanted to be a good guy or anything. I just felt in that moment that, you know, fuck, if this was my children, if this was my grandchildren and I was out there and I can empathize with his cause. And we've been through that. This is like why going through tragedy is something that we're kind of familiar with because we've gone through so many series. Like I mean, you did fire previously, you did water, like through a flood, and so all of these things we've gone through them, and you can empathize with other people's struggles. You can empathize with their tragedy, and say, "Hey, man, sometimes you just need to be that little bit of light in that darkness and that yin and the yang. Sometimes you got to be that. And if you do that, you're bringing all this light into this darkness." And I have this thought that I thought about a while ago that was just like, you know, God acts through us, right? We are the representative of God or the representative of the devil, whichever way you want to look at it. You're either representing the good or you're representing the bad in some capacity. And sometimes you got to be the hands of God. Sometimes you got to be the miracle maker. Sometimes that's what it requires. And the choice really comes down to you. That's where your free will comes in. Like, do I abide or do I not? Do I comply or do I not? And those are the choices. And what that also brings me to is the fact of grace, right? So like I've been chewing on grace for a while, and for a long time, I thought Luce was the one that was had the grace of God. Because if you look at, and Luce is our sister, um, her life has always been graceful. Like you can always see that the hand of God has been somewhere in her,
Always had blessings.
creating opportunities and shit like that. That like it's just beyond. And so I always thought Luce was the graceful one that has this thing. But it was recently, maybe like a few months ago, that I realized that I also am walking in grace. It's not, it's like, oh, and then I understood what grace really means. Like grace is that the hand of God or the will of God is playing in your life. And that doesn't necessarily inoculate you from tragedy. It just means that the tragedy that you experience when you have the grace of God in it is not what it could have been. Because that situation that you went through with the fire could have gone so many different ways, right? There
I've
was,
been like a broken man today because
yes, yes,
my kids could not be here. That's
yes,
just one thing coming to mind.
yes.
Like all we lost was some material things,
It was minimal.
matter nothing, and do very little change to my life. I mean, even the computer, some of the other friends was like, dude, we got this old MacBook that we're not using anymore. Like, we want to give it to you. You
Yeah.
know,
So you like
here,
immediately your work thing, because I saw the picture of your charred
yeah,
computer. That was like I was like, whose computer was that? I was
that
like,
was the computer that was ready to do a Zoom for
yeah,
the big project that I'm.
yeah. And then like the universe was like, not today,
Yeah.
or like chill out. But
That's
that's
dude.
what I'm coming at is the grace factor, right? It's like grace is part of you, but the question is, how do you get grace? Like, what is the way that you can cultivate more grace in your life? And grace is really like a Christian-y concept. The really grace, I've tried, went and did some research on it, and it's like the only places where grace really comes into play is from that Christian philosophy. Um, Other places have certain similar concept, but it's not as grace, where it's like God is in your life and
Yeah,
helping shit,
yeah,
right?
he's to your favor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's the question. How do you collect more grace? Because you obviously have the grace in your life, right? So what is the
It's
actions?
kind of strange because many people was like, dude, I'm so sorry. How are you? And whatever. But it's like, bro, it doesn't affect me. I mean, I'm worried, sometimes a little depressed when, like, for little moments,
Yeah.
about the whole situation. I've gone back to the house. I have to go back to the house after this talk and, see what else we can salvage, clothes, stuff like that. Whatever. We got to go through it.
You gotta go through the wreckage.
Yeah, we got to go through it. And every time it becomes more of a reality, and it's like, dude, where are you going to live? Because this problem's not going to be fixed in this time that my homie's not
Yeah.
here, lending us his house. So you're like, there's a lot of
It's December,
fear.
it's like,
December
yeah.
workload is a lot less, in coaching and in all these kind of things. But for some reason, it's like, no, dude,
There's
this is
peace.
this is written
Yeah.
and it's supposed to happen. And you just gotta subside to it and you gotta like submit to the situation without being defeated or but without being a victim.
Yeah.
Just
Accept. It's like
yeah, you gotta
accept it. This is happening and it's okay.
acceptance really is a major part of what brings grace because then you allow all the other good things that's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And also, once again, realizing that you're not really in control.
Yes.
Like, I don't control nothing. I don't control the meeting that I was supposed to have. I couldn't have it.
Yeah.
Whether the business is going to happen or not going to happen, I don't control that. All I control is my inner peace and
Yeah.
my mentality and the vibe that I emit because of that. It's
Yes.
like the heart is emitting a different signal. The mind is thinking in a, okay, dude, can you control that? No, you can't control it. Are you going to get a house? Yeah, I'm going to get a place to live. I
Kind of
mean,
like the mind is interpreting the situation and the
yeah.
heart emits it, like comes from the heart out and the mind brings in.
And the way you interpret the situation could be negative. and then
Yeah.
you emit negativity. And
Yeah.
then it's like negativity on negativity, causing this amazing spiral of negativity,
Hmm.
but you can do the opposite too. And it sort of like brings me, and that's why, like earlier on, I mentioned to you, I was like, I'd like to touch some things on the seven hermetic principles,
Hmm.
because one of the things that this amazing book that, that is kind of a thing that finds you, the Kybalion,
Yeah.
very few people have heard of this book,
Yeah.
and like I feel like it's sort of a thing that comes to you at your life when you're supposed to know it
Yeah.
and practice it, because it's not a thing that you just like read and just enjoy. No, it becomes a practice
Yeah.
once you start ingesting the information. And one of the phrases or concepts that it says is, you know, the masters, or the ones that sort of dominate these principles, maybe we could mention some of them, but if
Hmm.
you dominate it, then you serve whatever is above you. You submit to it.
Yeah.
God, you let it be, you know, but you also sort of rule what is below you, you know.
Yes.
And this situation is below me. Like,
Yeah.
what happened didn't happen to me, it happened for me, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. And that's a
For
very different way of looking at tragedy, right? It's like I think that's a lot of what happens with people. It's like once they get that smack, and it gives you kind of it leaves you kind of shell shocked because like it happens and you get overwhelmed and all of these things happen. But then it's like, okay, now what is my root? Do I allow this tragedy to define who I am and what's happening to me? And do I become the victim to it? Do I submit myself underneath it? Or do I say, okay, this is happening, but what is happening for me? Where is the universe putting the chips so that I can win? And
yes,
in your case, it was like you immediately had a new computer. Like it was immediately done. So, oh, thank,
because I submitted to the situation.
yeah,
And that's what, like, the grace is really just allowing the hidden blessings behind the bad moment to happen, you know.
yes.
But
And
if you're
recognize.
control your circumstance and sort of saying, I am my circumstance,
Yeah,
then you're not allowing grace to happen, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
You're not allowing the perfect will of God to happen in your life, you know?
yes,
Many people think that the perfect will of God is like tra la la, heaven, we're going to frolic and run without shoes in heavenly fields and eat strawberries on
yeah,
a style couch,
yeah,
that kind of shit. That's not heaven, Heaven, as Bob Marley said, is on the earth,
yeah.
It's here.
Well,
And
it's
it's
also like a Jesus principle, right? Like Jesus is like, the whole prayer is like our Father which art in heaven, right? Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So it's
exactly,
like, it's,
people think that the will of God includes no difficult circumstances,
yeah,
but it does. And those difficult circumstances are the operating tools that allow you to move from one space to a next,
yeah,
emotionally, spiritually, mentally, you totally move from one space to a next because you're allowing the circumstance to teach you the lesson that it's supposed to teach you. What's the lesson that I think at the moment, with like one layer of understanding of this situation? What's the lesson that I'm learning? Just stay at peace.
hmm,
Don't matter what happened.
yeah,
Everything really is fine. I have
yeah.
so much to give thanks for,
Yes. And
My
that's
kids,
it. I think that's the second element right there in grace
yeah.
is gratitude. Like in fact, the word grace and gratitude have a similar root. Like
Oh,
they're connected. So like if you are in a shitty situation, if you aren't, and that's something that I think we learned over time. Because when we first
there's no big
experience,
the
yeah,
first.
when we first experienced trauma like 30 years ago, we sort of succumbed to it and we were like, oh, there's nothing and we're in it and this is the cesspool that's the cards has been dealt to us and woe is me and I can't and all of these concepts would like dominate, oh, it's so difficult, it's so hard because I don't have X, I can't do Y. And when a lot of things changed for me is when I just started saying, well, what is going right for me? Like, not what's going wrong for me. What's the shit that's keeping me down? What's the shit that's pulling me up? What's the stuff that's pushing me and pushing me to the next level of my life? And then, I have this, I have my health, I have this. Even if you don't, like when I did the after the San Pancho fiasco, where like we were broken, sick, things were just completely
Just to
like,
give people a little bit of like
yeah, because basically,
what
my
happened.
wife and I, we were living in Mexico City. Her dad, flipped out and tried to take the house from us, and
You're
he
a
was,
malignant narcissist,
yeah,
and
he was a psychopath, like 100%. Like clinically, that's what he is. And so what he did is he wanted to like seize the property that was in her name. And
like
he also had like patents and lots of money. So pretty much legally, we were not going to win. So we did this thing where we were going to got a lawyer to fight our case for us. If he wins, he gets the house and buys it from us. And so we had to leave the house because he had to take possession of it. It was just legal maneuvering, but we went to a little beach town that I went to when I was earlier in my life, even though
after
it's, yeah.
that,
And
you went on a
no, that was yeah, well, like maybe a few years later. Like I first went to Oaxaca and then I went to San Pancho like with Evan in 2009-ish or so.
yeah,
Yeah.
you left to on a journey.
Yeah, on a
Yeah,
journey for like backpacking for about 2 years about. But
like
anyway,
and stumbled on San Pacho,
San
which is
Pancho, which was a jewel. It was very beautiful. It was very cultural. And a dream of ours was like, we would like to be at the beach and do art and music and just live. And I was working remotely, so it was possible. But when we got there, the whole situation was completely the opposite. And
hurricane, it was hurricane season, so you had no internet, you couldn't work.
yeah, it was summer, so there was diseases in the forest. You don't go to the jungle in the summer because everything's alive at that point. And like could had internet maybe like a week out of the month. And cost of living was also inflated due to Airbnb. So we just burned through all of our savings in 6 months. Uh, Ileana got sick like 4 or 5 times, like severely from poisoning and uh, fleas. Like there's a fever that fleas go. She got that. We got dengue. It was just like it was terrible, and it broke us. And
Yeah.
then when you came, you and mom came to pick us up, and you took us back here to Monterey. And when I came to Monterey, in mom's house with all of her furniture, with all of her stuff, pretty much unchanged since I left, which was like close to 10 years. For me, I felt like I was in this dark cell. Um, Prison was surrounded by the ghosts of my past.
You were in a very low place at
Yeah,
that.
that was terrible. But
Mhm.
there, for me to find gratitude was very difficult. Like I was grateful that you guys came, that I have a family, and that I was grateful for those things. But beyond that, I was like, I'm so fucked. Like
Yeah, you
everything was,
very sour, and you had a
yeah,
very victim mentality at that stage.
yeah. And like Ileana was going through depression.
Give even more thanks and be more grateful.
Yeah,
For me to be able to go and get you at that stage, I had just gotten into this Bitcoin business
yeah.
and the generated, and I had to sell at that stage like 5 Bitcoins that was worth $600 at that stage, so that I can go and get you.
Yeah, which is today worth $500,000.
So you know how much I love you, dude.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's a gratitude right there.
Be grateful.
Uh, so, but so yeah, the point is, I was there, and it was all written. Like I had to be there. I ran away from a thing that I didn't deal with, and 10 years later, I had to come back and deal with it again, and it was good. Like,
You
but
left away because you didn't want to face your inner demons, and you were
no,
doing.
I,
You
I
didn't want to become a man.
I don't want to get as far. I wanted to get as far away from those painful memories and those painful things and the treachery of what I've suffered for like a
Our
decade.
poverty that we lived before that
Yeah,
because of the betrayal of his partner. You
yeah,
know, lots of shit, and you wanted to get away from it instead
yeah.
of just facing
I wanted
the
to
man.
go live a different life. But the thing is, um, I had experience before I left, which kind of like was a split in my path. It was like the universe was saying, "Hey, bro, you could walk this way, and it's gonna be crazy, and you'll never be the same, and you'll never be able to really identify with mass culture and these people. You'll be a different thing." And like the feeling I had was like, "You'll be kind of like a John the Baptist in the freaking desert, baptizing motherfuckers. That's what you're gonna do." And I was like, or you could just go this other route and just be a normal person. And so I got freaked out and I was like, I'll just close this door to the John the Baptist walk and I'll go this other walk. And for 8 years, I wasn't able to meditate really. I was pretty much spiritually like cocooned. And then it wasn't until San Pancho and I broke and I got back to that point where I realized all these ghosts are still here. I ran away for 10 years. They didn't go anywhere. They were just where they had left them. And it's like, all right. And then the universe, which eventually personifies as Thoth, was like, yo, you ready to do this? And I was like, all right, bro, let's go. And since then, for me to start cultivating gratitude in that dark situation, what I did was I started becoming grateful for the very, very small, superficial things first. Like it was cold out and I had a warm coffee and I sat down and I just focused on that heat in my hand and I took that sip and I felt how the coffee went down. I was like, this is a good coffee. I'm very grateful for this coffee. And
Absolutely.
then, or take a deep breath and I was like, feel that? Oh, okay. I feel good about this. And slowly retrained my brain from looking at what's shit to,
Yeah.
oh, dude, this is nice.
You know
And
that now that you mention that, I have a good buddy called Kevin Gray. Shout out to my homie.
yeah,
He sometimes
Kevin.
he's listened to our stuff
Yeah,
before, so
yeah,
Kevin, thanks for this lesson. He's totally he's a brother of mine, and really he taught me a lot about how to be thankful in that sense, like how to really, because he was also extracted. He was by himself in Mexico.
yeah,
In his wife, Sue, I think he was married by that stage, or just his girlfriend, and they were gonna get married. I can't remember. But anyways, they're married now. They have a kid and everything. They live in England, and the dude would be so amazing because it was like, man, I just made a sale to a new client. It could have been like $50 worth of sales.
yeah,
His first sale with a new client, and he'd be like, dude, let's celebrate. Let's have a beer, or let's go have like an express barbecue in a canyon.
yeah,
Just celebrate the moment, even though it's just a minuscule thing. And he taught me that what you're saying right now, like there's so many good things happening around us. Actually, many more good things than bad things at all times,
yeah.
if you have eyes to see,
Or
you know,
even equally. Maybe there's as many bad things as there are good things. But
possibly
the
my,
difference is where does your perception go?
you
Yeah,
know, and that sort of like reminds me of the double slit experiment,
yeah,
how the observer affects the behavior of,
yeah,
you know, and but the dude just he had eyes to always look at the good shit, you know
yeah.
and even though things are bad, he goes into moments to enjoy life. He tries to enjoy life, and I think that's what life's about.
Yes,
Even though it's difficult and there's bad shit, and yes, I agree that maybe as many good things as bad things, but in my experience, it's normally, if you really look at it, there's so many more things you can give thanks for
of course.
than this one bad event that's happening in your life right now. There might
Yeah,
be this one thing that's happening, but you're breathing, bro. You have a delicious coffee. You're sitting in a house. Doesn't matter how it is. You're sitting there. You got a bed. You got a TV. You got kids. They love you. They
yeah,
respect you. You got brothers and sisters that want to take care of you and help you out. Actually, the good actually always is overly abundant in your life, even though you're in a dark hole. And then when you start looking at that yin yang and you look at the like the darkness, but you start you be that light like you were with this grandpa and his kids. That light, as any light that you turn on in a dark room will eventually expand and become
Yeah.
light in your
Yeah.
life. So, I mean, grace is actually a natural state of human existence,
Yeah.
but we think it isn't, you
Hmm.
know, and therefore we don't live in a state of gratefulness,
Yeah.
and because we don't live in a state of gratefulness, bad things happen.
Yeah. Well, you'd shift your frequency completely. You're
I made
tuning
I
into
made
the bad.
a lesson during this time where if it would have happened to Louis of 5 years ago, Louis of 10 years ago, I'd be like
Yeah,
flabbergasted.
and an anxiety pit, like
Yeah, I'd be angry.
scratching at how the hell can I get out of this and fuck the universe and all of these things. Yeah.
I'd be in a bad state,
Yeah.
And again, I'm human. I have my little moments of worry and like things like that. But I do know that I need to keep myself at a high vibration. And I do
Hmm.
know that I need to keep myself, and it's not something I'm forcing myself to do. It's actually my natural state,
Yeah.
you know. And now, as you did, like you mentioned, after that dark moment of San Pancho, your natural state was in a low vibration and it was like sour and you didn't see the good around you and you were depressed.
Yeah.
Now you're in a different state. Now your natural state is positivity
Yeah.
and a bright outlook.
Yeah.
And I'm a doer and cause and effect.
Yeah.
And
And like peace, like there's this crazy peace that is like, it doesn't matter what's happening. Like none
no,
of this matters. I know that even if the worst thing happens, like it's ultimately for there's that Joyce something. She's like this medium that speaks with like these dudes through her. I can't remember her name. Meyer,
Louisa Hayes.
Louisa
Louisa.
Hayes. Yeah, I think something like that. But she
Yeah,
had
she's
this she had this affirmation that is something like I'm paraphrasing here, but it's basically like I accept the situation, what's happening. It's all happening for my good. I am safe, and everything that's going to happen is going to happen for my greater good. And it's like getting into that mentality and accepting and submitting yourself to that as well. Because the bad shit can happen, and you got to submit and accept that the flood is here, the fire is here. It's not like much I can do, so I bend to the will. But at the same time, it's also the will is grace and love and kindness, and these are the universal things. Like love sustains everything. So tuning into that makes more of that, and then you also kind of realize that it doesn't matter. What if I lose my job next month? What if I can't pay this? Well, fuck it. I'll do whatever I can in that moment, and I will deal with it then, and I will try to prepare as much as I can, obviously, for the future. Don't be stupid and sit on the back and wait for nothing to happen, like
like we spoke about last time.
yeah,
Intention is like the initiator,
yeah.
and then like
Desires the GPS and put the
yeah,
pedal on the metal and go.
that's the pedal. You
Yeah.
got to have connections, and that's
Yeah.
maybe the thing that I don't like about these situations is it makes you uncomfortable. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, dude, fuck, I'm gonna have to work. I'm gonna have to do this. I'm gonna have to call people up. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
embarrass myself. I'm gonna have to tell this person I'm not gonna be able to pay because I just lost my house or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
lost his house. Like,
do this shit, like
yeah.
I'm gonna have to go through things that make me uncomfortable and really, something that I don't really want to do right now, but screw it, I have to, I have no choice. So it's like, but even those things, do it with joy, do it with happiness,
Yeah.
even the extra work, like, my clothes are full of soot.
Yeah.
So I was so freaking tired that my hands were black for like days, and then like taking it out and then the smell, it becomes unbearable eventually. You just don't want to smell that nasty smell anymore.
Yeah.
So you're like, dude, okay, I gotta take my clothes. I gotta wash this. I gotta do that. Like things that just, it's like, oh, this is fastidious. I'm so
Yeah.
tired of doing this shit. But that's also the possible downward trend into a negative vibration and a lower vibration.
Yeah.
So there, be mindful. And that's what I'm saying. Like what I'm trying to say is my whole lesson during this thing is be mindful of the state that you're in. make sure you rise above the like the pendulum swing, like
Yeah.
the bottom of the pendulum, that's extreme, dude. And that's like, oh my God, you
Yeah.
know? But up here, there's peace. This
Yeah.
thing,
It's very stable. There might swing a little bit to the left, a little to the right, but it's very minimal from the center.
our
And
whole thing in life is bad shit happens to you. Don't
rise.
stay at the
Yeah.
victim side of it where you're swinging at the extremes of the pendulum. Like, move up, dude.
Yeah.
Through meditation, move up through consciousness,
Yeah.
move up through like philosophy that helps you
Yeah.
control it. You know, that's why like when we were very Christian, our way was like worship and hand it over to God. That's a great technique to
Yeah.
rise above. You know,
Yeah.
and that's why I said like
But
most of
the what I find as a fault in that, like it is give over and do that, but what it's like you don't ever assume the power. And
no,
that's
I'm
the
still
thing
a babe.
that
I'm still a
I
babe. You
yeah,
know,
and that's what I like about like yeah, exactly. It's like a kid. It's like, "Oh, daddy, help me. Daddy, help me." And daddy will be there and it'll help you, but you can't say daddy help me when you're 25.
Daddy wants to grow up. And
When
that's like, like that's why I wanted to mention one of the major things that helps me navigate through life at this moment is, and that thing what I just said, like they're babes. Christians use it as if Jesus says it all the time, but this is actually an old Egyptian saying, a Hermetic saying, that's like milk for babes,
yeah,
meat for strong men.
yeah,
So, like, those things are practices that help you climb the ladder of spiritual philosophy to a point where you're eating meat.
yeah.
And, like, for me at the moment, the seven hermetic principles is something that really is that meat
That's
that
resonating with you. Yeah.
resonates with me at this
Well,
moment. I'm
that's
not,
for me with magic. I think all magic really is the like the welcome to the buffet, right?
yeah,
Like religion is like, okay, here's your little like puree. Here's your baby food. Here's the
exactly.
basic principles and parables, and here's all these things that you want to do. And yes, submitting yourself and using Jesus as an avatar and in a Buddha or whatever. That's great. It's fine. You're following this thing, but magic is sort of like I'm now out of it. I understand how these energy can.
It's not like somebody's playing a game for you.
Yeah,
It's not like
exactly.
your avatar to do the war for you.
Yeah,
You're the practitioner with at a very humble way because many people that go into that philosophy of I am God,
yeah,
which is true and not true in so many different
yeah.
dimensions.
It's paradoxical. Yeah,
But many people that do that, they have ego. Their ego doesn't die, and they think like, dude, yeah, I am God, and I'm creating this. Okay, well, did you start the fucking fire in your house?
yeah,
You know, did you?
yeah,
Like, at maybe at one dimension prior to life, I said one day there's going to be a fire in my house,
yeah.
and then things are going to come from it. But I didn't send some energy to my house to start the fire.
No,
I didn't commit some sins. Now God's punishing me.
yeah,
Yesterday my kid's been, asking me before this. He's like, dude, can we go to this place called Jump Zone? Which is
hmm
like a trampoline park with like Ninja Warrior, and he loves it, dude. He just
yeah,
loves it. And we know the owner of the place because he's in this marriage council group and very Christian and whatever. And I saw him sitting in the front of the place yesterday and just said hi to him and whatever. He was super nice to us. Like, he's like, dude, I just heard about your house. You don't have to pay anything, and we didn't pay for going there. But then he came to our table later and I was like, are you guys going to church? I was like, no, man, I haven't gone. And then he's like, man, like sort of not saying that that's why this shit happened to us.
yeah.
It's
But
sort of,
insinuating it. Yeah,
you just walked away from the Lord, so now you're getting fucked.
yeah,
That's such a weird way of thinking in that sense. I don't want to criticize that, but it's like guilt
yeah. Well,
that,
it is total guilt. Like it's a guilt trip.
yeah, but guilt that people feel because they have walked away from God or whatever is really not from God. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I really think God is so much more above like the doctrine and the box that many people put them in, whether they're Buddhists, or whether they are Christians or Muslims or whatever, they're all shadows of the truth.
So
They're
totally. The moment you try to define God, you have to deny other parts of God. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, God is only like this. Well, God is infinite and God is all. So if you say God is this, you're saying he's not that. And then
yes,
then you've gone into this whole like
the God
divisible
worship.
game that you're playing. And if anybody doesn't believe the same version of the God that you've established for yourself, well, now that person's evil or, demonic or X, Y, or Z. It's a
That's not God. That's not the true God.
no,
And probably gonna get some criticism for being a heretic and whatever,
it's
but
fine.
seriously, your God isn't God,
No.
and God is that all loving, all knowing, all seeing, all being,
Beyond comprehension. If we
undefined,
yeah,
rather.
the word, one word I love is the ineffable. You
Yeah.
can't explain it. And no matter how, that's part of the Hermetics as well. That's why they call God the all, because they don't you can't define it. You cannot define God because God is outside of you. So it's the only thing that's outside of you, and we are in it. So um now how much of us is it and it is us? You can go
You
you
know,
can.
that's one thing that you and I have spoken about so many times. Like, you got to be okay and accept the fact that you'll never know
Mhm.
really who God is, why God is, how
Yeah.
God is. You'll never know it. And you got to be okay with that. You got to be okay.
I think the closest thing to a physical representation of God is a thing called the universal constant. And the universal constant is basically like the universe is expanding at a certain rate, but like nobody knows why or where from or anything. It's there, you can see it, but you can measure it, but you can't. Nobody understands it. There's no way that we can understand that because it's something that's beyond the realm of our universe. And so
Yeah,
even in science exists that concept of this infinite force
yeah.
that is both pushing and pulling at the same time and keeping us from not accelerating too fast and not being so slow that the universe freezes. It's like so that's like and that's the thing. So now scientists will go and they will explain and theorize as philosophers will try to explain and theorize what God is. But we're all talking about the same thing. It's like you're different languages trying to explain this ineffable phenomena, and it's great. And I don't say everybody that anybody should stop seeking or trying to understand because that's the whole purpose. It's like you're here, you are God.
There is a purpose. And that's one thing like that I told my wife the other day, because she, likes to have truth sayers and prophets and whatever sort of intervene in her life, you know?
Yeah,
And at this point in my life, I'm like, dude, I think there's a purpose in not knowing.
yeah.
I think there's an actual purpose in being blind to the future and not knowing what it holds. Because if I would know what's going to happen tomorrow, then I would be at a different state, and my spiritual effort, my spiritual growth, my spiritual like acceptance of this, would be
The
unreal.
inner alchemy would be affected.
It wouldn't be real.
Yeah,
If I knew that, oh yeah, tomorrow at 3 o'clock they're gonna call me, and my partners are gonna say, okay, dude, the investment's clear, let's start, go buy your house, blah blah blah. If I knew all that stuff, then I would have no need to practice peace
yeah.
and faith and create from the unknown. I would have no need to go into the quantum world in a
Mhm.
meditative state and just see how this thing plays out in a perfect way without me trying to control it.
Yeah,
Like, I would have no need for that because I would know exactly what's going to come tomorrow. So there's a purpose in not knowing. When you don't know, you become afraid. When
yeah,
you don't know, you become uh, restless.
yes,
And uh, and what do you have to do? Well, you have to control yourself.
yeah.
You
You have to find
practice.
peace. You go back to that peace. Yeah,
So there's a reason we don't know.
yeah,
There's a reason shit is the way it is. There's a reason we are built the way it is built, and that's
yeah,
why again, I come back to, what do we know? We don't know really what God is. We wouldn't dare to define him, it, whatever.
Yeah.
But we do know something. We know what we see around us. We see the natural world around us, and it behaves in a certain way, and things just work out.
Yeah.
It grows in a, like everything on this earth grows in a sacred geometry,
Yeah.
you know, and sacred geometry obeys a certain vibe that's emitted in the entire universe, a certain vibration, sound vibration.
Yeah.
If you just let go and stop trying to put mind to life and just be totally who you are without any no holds bars, like you're just letting yourself be, you're going to go and attract yourself to the right kind of people, the right kind of situations. Some shit's going to happen that's going to seem horrible to you, but it's actually a fucking good thing.
Yeah.
So I guess the next segment in my life is called Project Phoenix,
Yeah. Like they're rising from the ashes. Yeah.
rise out of ashes and let the green little buds start sprouting in this burnt forest that I have right now. uh, you know, in many, many things, in my business, in my spiritual life, in my
Yeah.
marriage, with my kids. You know, we've gotten into this whole situation where it's like, okay, I go work, I do this, my kids go to school, they come back, they all go to their computers, they play, they connect, my little kid's on the Xbox. Well, the Xbox is ruined, the TV doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So we're all here together, hanging out, getting to know each other again. My wife and I are having long talks in the evening and just hanging out.
Yeah.
Me and my daughter sat down the other day and spoke about yin yang and the little black dot and the white dot and what that
Yeah.
means and all this stuff. And, you know, it's like a moment where we can respond in the right way in a bad moment, you
Yeah.
know? So, like, if you don't mind, I'd just like to mention the seven principles. I don't want to get into them, but it's just like maybe at another stage we can talk a little bit more
Yeah.
about them.
Totally. Totally.
But like the first principle is all is mind. The principle of mentalism. You
Yeah.
know, everything in the universe is actually a thought.
Yeah.
It's mental.
Yeah.
Principle two, as above, so below. The principle of correspondence. I think
Hmm.
we've all heard that one. As
Yeah.
above, so below. you know, and that's kind of the thing you mentioned last time, like bring heaven onto earth, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So whatever is happening in the heavenly happens in the earthly,
Yeah.
and what happens in your spiritual alchemy happens in your
The
physical
environment. Yeah.
vibration. As I was just saying right now, everything is vibrating. The universe is vibrating. There's a
Yeah.
certain hertz. I've done an entire course that I created based on this and how when you're in a state of happiness and peace, your hurt or your vibration and hertz that's emitted from your heart is exactly aligned with creation, with the
Yeah.
earth, with everything. It vibrates in the same thing. And when you're worried, you're out of tune.
Yeah.
So then
You're
shit happens.
in
Like
dissonance. Yeah.
you're not in harmony.
Yeah.
And then the principle of polarity. Everything's dual.
Yeah.
The rich is not the opposite of poor. It's
The
just
same thing. It's just a degree of difference.
the same nature.
Yeah. What is hot? What is cold? Well, it depends.
Yeah, we're talking about temperature,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So then there's the principle of rhythm. There's an ebb and flow. There's
Yeah.
a
The
go.
the pendulum swings.
Yeah, so you could go above the top part of the pendulum,
Yeah.
and seeing the victim in the bottom part, and
Yeah.
being on those extremes that's just pulling you and rocking you like you're in a stormy ocean.
Yeah.
You can go above that and be at the point of least movement, you
Yeah.
know. You can only do that by knowing that this exists, number one, and that there's a possibility to rise above.
Yeah.
But do it through meditation, through we all have different methods to
Yeah.
get
All rivers flow to the ocean.
exactly. And then like the cause and effect, there are no accidents that happen. Everything is a cause of an effect, and everything is an effect of a cause in
Yeah.
this, you
Yeah.
know.
In the world of duality. Yeah.
Yeah, in a world of duality, everything's a cause and effect,
Yeah.
and it's the world we live in right
Yeah.
now, you know.
Exactly.
And then there's a principle of gender, which is there's a masculine and feminine principle in the planet, but it's like generation is possible, and you can
Yeah.
either use your masculine energy or your feminine energy to gestate something and create something new.
Yeah. And
You know?
it's also we like, we're men, but we have feminine sides. We do have these qualities.
We take care, we
Yeah.
protect. That's what moms do,
We nurture, exactly. And sometimes you need to operate in one energy and sometimes you need to operate in the other, and you need to understand at which moment you need to
You're
switch
creating
between.
a new business, you're operating in feminine energy.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you're executing the business, you're
You're
operating.
been masculine. Yeah, exactly. And
So
also understand the type of situations that are coming to you. If the principle of gender is true, that means that the situations that come to you sometimes requires, sometimes it's a masculine energy that imposes, and sometimes it's a feminine energy that takes and then grows. So like understanding when to operate and how to operate is very important.
yeah, yeah. So like I guess we've talked a very long time, but some of the things that pop into my mind is kind of what Mike Tyson said at one interview, just a little segment I saw. And Mike Tyson, he's gone from being carnal to being spiritual on
Yeah,
this, you know.
yeah,
And like it's kind of funny that, as you mentioned, all rivers go to the ocean. His carnality, his warrior, he ends up being a poet. You
yeah,
know, and he
exactly.
ends up being a spiritual teacher and a master of war and
Yeah,
mentality.
yeah,
One thing he said is like, dude, I'm nothing.
yeah.
Once your ego dies, you can really live.
He
You know,
said that, I think, he was talking to like a 10-year-old girl when she asked him about legacy. He says, legacy don't mean shit. One day I'm gonna die. Like, and everybody's like, oh, okay. He's like, what does it matter? What does it
yeah,
matter if I lose or my legacy gets tainted or anything like that? None of that matters.
he's past it, dude, and he's
Yeah.
been broken so many times. He's in jail. He's been wrongly accused. He's
His
been
daughter died, dude.
daughter died. His parents were in the sex industry and crackheads and shit.
Yeah,
His real fatherly figure, Gus D'Amato, that really trained him and saw the gold in this guy, the champ.
yeah,
He, and Gus basically was already retired when he saw Mike, and he's like, I got one more in me. I'm gonna
yeah,
give you my last days.
yeah,
That guy died. I mean, imagine the pain for a kid that was ousted and like was that, but he got to a point where he basically understood that he is nothing
yeah,
and nothing matters. And why is that an important conclusion? It's important to know that you are nothing because it's more of the ego. You're talking more about the ego there.
yeah.
It doesn't matter. You aren't what you think you are. You're
No,
something much bigger. And the moment you can get to the point where you are nothing, that's when everything can fit into it. Because
yeah.
I was also speaking to my kids the other day. They're like, well, what's bigger than the universe?
The
Nothing.
void.
Nothing is bigger
Yeah,
than the void.
the
The
void.
only place that everything can fit into is within nothing.
Yeah.
So, like, when you get to this point where you're like, and I'm not there, I mean, I'm a fucking idiot, you know,
We all are, dude. But that's also a thing. Like a lot of times people like want to be at a certain point.
that is master, illuminated
Yeah,
master.
when am I going to, feel this peace? When am I going to? Right now. Right now, because right now is where you are, and right now is perfect, and right now is the only moment that you have. So don't aspire to get to anything or anything. Be what you need to be right now. That's like the whole other thing that God is like, who are you? It's like, I am. I am being, I'm presence, I am here. This is me now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that was our path into spirituality was Christian
Doctrine.
Protestant.
Yeah.
And it's still going to be a base communication method for us to understand the bigger things.
Yeah.
I am thankful for my path during Christianity. I'm thankful for that. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have other methods to communicate
Yeah.
with the all, and sort of like emit and allow miracles to happen in my life.
Yeah.
That
100%.
was my pathway. But there are many, many pathways and many people, it's like the more sincere you are with your faith at that stage, the bigger possibility there is for you to jump out of that
Yeah.
fish, to jump out of that fishbowl. We all should be jumping out of the fishbowl, but I don't think everybody's meant to jump out of the fishbowl either.
No, I actually think there's a lot of people. I
And
think
I look down on people that are in.
no, but that's the thing. It's what I'm saying. You can't look down on it. Like,
No, that's
because not everybody's meant to be awake. Not everybody is called. Like, that's the other thing. Many are called, few are chosen. Some people don't have a choice. Like, sorry, bro, you're gonna fucking have to do it like this because that's
that's
how
the
it is.
difference, bro.
Yeah.
Like you and I, especially. I mean, dude, I go back when we were like highly Christian and we went to the river and baptized each other and
Did
filled our.
crazy shit, yeah, dude. Because, but that's what I'm saying. Few are chosen, and I don't want to talk about like, oh, I'm this chosen one. Fuck that. But like, I do feel that I didn't have a choice in becoming awake to these principles, to this reality.
I don't think we had a choice to do it,
No,
dude.
but many are called. Many are like, that's why you like look at examples like Jesus. Like Jesus didn't have a choice. Buddha didn't have a choice. Hitler didn't have a choice. You're gonna be Hitler. Sorry, bro. You're gonna be the cunt that's going to be like remembered for history for being this cunt. Yeah. And Jesus, you're gonna die like this because this is you being chosen. And everybody else that sees those examples say they're called. Like, hey, you can come, but that's your choice. Now, most people won't because life is too easy. Like most people go through life through a very simple life, even though they have difficulties.
Sort of built it, and that's also the thing about the system.
Yeah,
If you follow the system and you obey it and you live like a good little boy within it, then you'd probably have a good life.
yeah,
you know, but so good that there are no stretching and that there are no moments of precipice,
yeah.
you know, like,
You're
and that's
safe.
okay.
You're safe. Yeah, of
It's fine. That's cool. You did that. But do you think that Joe Rogan didn't have some bad shit happen with
course he
him?
did. Of course he did.
I know people try to molest him. I know his dad probably was a cunt, you
Yeah,
know, divorced family, blah, blah, blah. Do you think Elon Musk didn't have some crazy fucking shit? Like, you can't deny that that motherfucker, Donald Trump, all those assholes that I don't give a fuck about their politics. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying
as
that
a
they're
person. Yeah,
in the world. Nelson Mandela, they're icons in the world,
yeah,
that people that have a good and a bad side. They're human, but I don't think they had a choice, man. I think they
yeah.
kind of had to be who
What
they
they
are.
are. Exactly. And you can either deny that or you could, accept it. But like I said, this podcast is called The Ruthless Awakening because it's ruthless. Like being awake is not flowery.
Process in an
Yeah.
ashram somewhere in India,
Yeah.
stinking like fucking patchouli,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. I don't think I actually don't know of an example of somebody who's become enlightened due to pleasure and comfort and these things. They all have to go through the fire. Like you have to get burnt down, you have to get broken, you have to fall to the floor and hit your rock bottom for you to wake up. Because it's kind of like the pain and the tragedy and the uncomfortability is what forces you to like, okay, it's time to become from seed to turn into a plant. I have to break my shell, eat my surroundings, and become something completely different. But I'm still the same thing. I came from the seed, but now I'm breaking out. And it's like a painful process. It's not easy. It's
No,
you know,
it, it, it's like the bigger the tree, the deeper the roots gotta be, you
yes,
know. And
yes,
so these tragedies and these moments are like rooting moments that
yeah,
will allow you to sustain gale force winds
yeah,
in the future. You know,
exactly.
like it's like, okay, dude, you're gonna do this big ass shit. So
Yeah,
you're gonna have to go through this deep ass thing because this deep ass thing is gonna ground you deeply and it's gonna make you very strong and very resistant. Like like you mentioned the flood, like
Yeah.
back in Tula Hidalgo, like 2 3 years ago. I lived that moment. I survived it. I helped people. Like I saved lives and stuff. Later on, I don't want to go
Yeah.
into,
We don't have to talk about it, but we will talk about it at some point.
like these moments cure you from fear.
Yeah.
You know, they cure you from being worried when shit goes wrong. Because, dude, I've done some things and I've gone through some bad moments where in the end it ended up pretty good. You
Yeah.
know, so So it's like you're learning this constant message until you're really grounded inside of your being.
Yeah.
It's there's this constant message that the universe is trying to tell you, which is no matter how dark, no matter how black, no matter how difficult, no matter how cold, no matter how sad, no matter how lonely you are, it's actually going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be fucking good, dude. Just walk. Don't sit in the cold.
Hmm.
Don't sit in the flood. Don't fucking stay in the house fire. Break the fucking door open if you have to.
Yeah. Go crazy.
Yeah. And turn that shit off. And good things are not just happening at that moment, but they're also going to be happening afterwards. And then comes things like, dude, I just lost my business. Dude, this just happened. Man, they just canceled the contract. Same fucking principle.
Yeah.
Sit there, move,
Yeah.
walk forward, do your shit.
Take a breath. Take a step back and be like, all right.
Sometimes be like, dude, okay, fuck, this is painful. I need to heal, whatever. But don't stay there.
Yeah.
Stay stagnant. Stagnation is death. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
it's the life flows, universe flows, you flow.
All is in motion, man. It's a principle. And so don't stand still. Standing still is counter to the universal principles. It's like, as you mentioned, stagnation is death. You never drink from a stagnated pool of water
Yeah.
because you'll die. Like that's what it is. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that. I think we've got covered some pretty good stuff today, and we'll keep on talking about other stuff. But I think it was a really relevant tragedy because it's something that was really real for you right now, and you seem to be very much at peace, even though things are very difficult and there are difficulties around you. But you're like, hey, you know what? It's gonna happen, and you don't know what's gonna happen the next month. Okay, cool. You know that
But
it's gonna be fine.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
Like I am living a moment of absolute uncertainty.
yeah,
But in the face of uncertainty, look for the things that create certainty.
yeah.
What is it? These philosophies, my brother,
Hmm.
my words, my friends, my actions. When there is uncertainty, create certainty,
Yeah.
right? So
Like it. Love it. I think that's where we'll cut it. Yeah. So if anybody is watching this, last episode we got a whole 47 people that watched it. So that was good. Yeah, dude,
well, it was not planned.
it wasn't
So
planned, so that's good. And I think like now we didn't have topic this time. This just like life happened. But I would like to keep on doing this, like maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, just sit down, discuss some stuff.
if
And
people are watching and they would want to know more things or have suggestions that we want to talk about, shoot it up, put it in
yeah,
the
put in the
comments.
comments, ask what you want to ask, and we will go through it. But this is something that we can keep on doing. So
I'm
yeah,
I'd like to keep on doing this. And I think we have a vast array of topics that we can talk about.
100%, 100%. So, all right, man. Well, thank you, Louis, for this time. We will reconvene. I will let you know when it's up, and yeah. And if you do finally get all of your costs in the fire and how much of that, let's set you up a GoFund, and we'll throw it down at this link, and we can.
I have a big list of things. I've just written down the things that we lost, and now we're checking into like the approximate value of whatever of this
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah. So just do that, and we'll get it out there, and we'll reconvene later on this month. All right, man. Love you, man. Talk to you later. Peace out.
Peace.